Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 here in Memphis, Tennessee. And for all you good folks, as Frank Barton, my co-host today, said, good morning out there in Brownsville Radio, and glad to have 95.3 and 1520 AM, and all the good folks in Jackson, Tennessee on News Talk 101.5 as we talk outdoors 90 minutes every Saturday morning, close in our 17th year on the air. And we've had a recent development here on the local scene, the local fishing scene, which I am so happy to see. I didn't think it would happen. There was some concerns because I drive by Shelby Farms so many times, and I've watched the progress of what was one time Patriot Lake, but is now Hyde Lake, and I've seen it grow from 50 acres to 80 acres, and I've seen the return of fishing at Hyde Lake. And so I've asked Rebecca Daly, she is the communications coordinator for Shelby Farms Park Conservancy, to join us this morning to tell us a little bit about this. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
How's the reception been since you opened up about a week ago Friday or something like that? How's it been?
We have had just as much excitement about fishing coming back as we did when we opened the lake.
Yeah.
So this was such an exciting project for us, and for us to complete the fish stock a year early was so exciting for us and for the fishing community here in Memphis.
And I know you've watched this. Tell our listeners a little bit about how long have you been with the Conservancy?
I've been with the Conservancy for about 7.5 years, so I've seen.
You've seen it. You've seen it.
I've seen it, yeah.
And
so Patriot Lake, as you mentioned, was our most popular fishing lake in the park, and it was about 50 acres, but it wasn't very healthy.
No.
So for 2 years, we were under construction, redesigning the lake, putting a liner in the bottom of it to make sure that it wouldn't leak anymore, redesigning the edges of the watershed and the edges of the lake, and putting in some elements that would really be healthier for fish, and we nearly doubled the size of the lake. So we've tried to create a great environment for all different types of user groups. So whether you want to walk around the lake or bike around the lake or spend your morning fishing, there's an opportunity for you to do that there. And we had planned for the fishing to take about 3 years.
Yes.
As we restocked it, we wanted to monitor that very closely and make sure they reached a certain level of maturity before we reopened for this particular sport. And as we were monitoring, we saw that we were way ahead of schedule and got to open this an entire year early. And so we're very glad for that.
Well, it's been one of the favorite areas. I know once upon a time we actually held a junior fishing rodeo in Patriot Lake. We roped off the west end and had kids all around that lake. It was the most unusual fishing rodeo I've ever been involved in. To use such a big lake and try to keep fish out of the other. And then when I saw this construction going and I saw this liner in, I couldn't figure out what are they doing. And actually, like you said, this was put in to keep from water seeping out or whatever we might say.
Exactly. So we no longer have to pump water, which we occasionally had to do when it was Patriot Lake. It was really never designed to be a lake. I don't know if you know this.
I knew that,
but,
yes.
It was originally dug out to be a borrow pit. The county needed dirt to cap the landfill and then put some water in it, and it became Patriot Lake. And while it was one of the most beloved spots in the park, it just wasn't sustainable.
And you came up with Hyde Lake. Tell our listeners about how that happened.
So that came about as we worked on, we called this area of the park Heart of the Park. And as I mentioned, it was a 2-year reconstruction and reimagining of that area.
Yes.
And as it became a larger lake, it became an entirely different lake. And if you visited, you can definitely tell it's just a new and different space. And so we gave it a new name honoring some of our most prolific donors here at the park. Well,
the Hyde family's been a donor for a lot of things in Memphis, and it's a great compliment to that family. And I know the end product, the place is just beautiful. 4,500 acres. If I'm not mistaken, it's still one of the largest inner city park, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States. I don't know if there's too many that large.
That's correct. We are one of the largest urban parks, and we're 5 times bigger than Central Park in New York City, which is a park that everyone's at least nominally familiar with.
Wow.
And
yeah,
that's a big and special park in New York. But for us to be 5 times bigger, it's a real treasure to have here in the city.
And you've kind of made this non-motors, so it's taking you back to the old type days where you can get out there in the canoe, the kayak, and they've got them all for rent out there, and there's no noise. It's like peaceful if you want to do it. So you can either do that or you can fish on the shore. So talk to us about the regulations and things that you guys are doing.
Sure. So as you mentioned, people-powered boats only. You can bring your own boat or borrow one of ours. We just ask that as you're casting, you be mindful of other paddlers around you.
Yes.
And we have some designated areas for fishing. You can't fish off of just any section of the lake, and that's just so that we can have a shared use space. Some of those trails are a little closer to the lake edge than others, and we'd hate for you to get hooked instead of a fish.
Right, I know that, yeah.
So we do have a map available on our website if you want to see where those areas are. They're along the southern edge of the lake.
And they have signage. You got green signs up.
We do. So those new sections are marked right now, and we'll be working for some more permanent designations in the future. But to get it going, we've got some temporary signs up right now to let you know where you can fish.
Yeah.
We do have bass, catfish, brim, bluegill, and buffalo fish all in there, native fish.
Yes.
And these do have to be taken out of the lake. This one particular lake is not catch and release.
Yes.
Everything, all the other lakes in the park you can release, but you do need to leave carp there.
Yeah, leave the carp. Everything else you catch, you take. It's yours.
That's right.
That's
all
right.
yours.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we follow TWRA regulations, so you will need a fishing license, and all that information is up on our website as well.
And that website is?
That is ShelbyFarmsPark.org.
All right, ShelbyFarmsPark.org. I've posted all this information on my website, lroutdoors.com. You'll have that. And I'm assuming there are some pretty nice fish in there.
There should be. We have gotten the reports that they are nice and healthy and ready to hop out of the lake and right into your basket to take home.
Yeah, and your skillet like that and everything.
Exactly.
So, and did you work with the TWRA on this lake? Was that part of your team?
We had a lot of consultants on this project. We realize we are not experts in any one field, so we want to bring in the best of the best if we're not the best. So we did work with TWRA and some great landscape architects to put this project together, and we tried to bring the best of the best in on the project, and I think we got some good results.
Oh, I think you got some great results when you look at this thing because it's such a beautiful park to begin with, and the Welcome Center will knock your socks off. If you haven't been out there, folks, you need to go. I mean, as fishermen and people like that, share the park because this is something that a lot of cities cannot lay claim to. And I think that's one of the things that probably, Rebecca, you've seen this park go from what it was and what it is now. So from your observation.
It's been incredible, and I think the most notable thing about this project in the lake is this was a people-powered project.
Yep.
A majority of the contributions for this capital campaign and for the day-to-day operations of the park come from donors and supporters. We do get some funding from Shelby County government, but a vast majority of what is used to care for the park comes from private donations.
Wow, and I don't know how many cars whiz by that place on Walnut Grove every day, but you've got it so you don't even know you can hear some cars, but the way it's laid out right now, you don't even know there's a road back there if there's no traffic. And I think the design was like, how long is it around that thing?
The walking path is 2.34 miles.
Wow. So
you've got an 80-acre lake and an almost 2.5-mile path around it, and you can't even hear Walnut Grove right next door.
That's amazing. And right across the street is Ducks Unlimited that shares another beautiful thing here, is now a showcase. Hey, Rebecca, I appreciate you taking time to be with us on Outdoors with Larry Ray. And, folks, again, check out Hyde Lake, the new lake just opened to fishing. It's not a new lake technically because it was an amazing just to watch it constructed, but now fishing is open out there. Read all the TWRA rules and regulations. Go to the website, and they'll tell you all that. Rebecca, thank you for taking time, and let's stay in touch. Anything going on, let us know. If somebody catches a big fish, we want to hear about it, okay?
You'll be the first to know, Larry.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Rebecca Daly. And I like to see things that are good for the city. And I think that's a beautiful place. Ride a motorcycle by there up and down Farm Road, but you better not go over 30 miles an hour. I can tell you that right now. They're sitting behind them little trees they built to protect people that fly through there. But any comments on that, Frank?
No, Shelby Farms has long been a kind of a hidden jewel, hidden asset, and while it's always been open to a lot of people, it's been its use has been somewhat limited by its accessibility of various places.
Yeah.
And those of us in the retriever community were able to use it for a long period of time because of that inaccessibility for a lot of folks. But as things develop and change, so does the use, and so it's a little more difficult for us to do the type of training that we need to do. So,
here's a dog park, but it's just for the dogs. I mean,
there's a dog park, but there's a lot of human interaction out there,
right.
and it's utilized heavily, which is great. But
a lot of dog lovers.
For what the retriever community does, it's a little bit doesn't really help us that much anymore. So that's good, but we're certainly glad that other people are getting to see what we've known for a long time was a really, really nice asset.
Yeah, just tell them when they buy that Indian motorcycle to whiz over to Farm Road and kind of. And
the horse community. There's a lot of, the horse community used it for a long time. And a lot of folks don't realize that, we had, we all remember when the shooting range was open.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah.
And we would go over there. And then there were lots of field trials held out there.
I can remember. I covered a bunch of them off Farm Road.
Right.
I think some of them right off there. All right. Thank you, Frank. All right, let's take a break, come back, and we're going to talk about something new on the market. Frank's looking at it right now. We're going to find out about a new shoe that has an outdoor connection to it. We'll be right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray.